And tonight we're going to be talking on Facebook Live about, is menopause making you fat? Now, this is a question I hear a lot because weight control issues are one of the biggest things that women talk about. Out of the 10,000 plus women I've taken care of, it's a very common concern. And there's a lot of things that are really contributing to increased weight in our society today that have nothing to do with menopause, but it does happen around the time of menopause. I'll give you some examples of that. For instance, in menopause, it's a very important time because at that point in time, metabolism is slowing down. So you're lowering your metabolism by about 3% every decade. So that means that you would automatically, if you eat the same amounts as you used to, you would continue to gain weight. The second thing is the fact that food sizes have changed so much in the last even 20 years. The actual size of our plates have increased by 2 inches. The proportions of food that people eat has increased. And we have a lot of life factors that contribute to our gaining weight. Some of it has to do with the fact that people are more stressed. We live in a very stressful life. And stress changes hormones in our bodies that do two things. One, it causes us to eat because we're stressed. So people try to overcome their stress by eating, just anxiety. And there are the changes in hormones that come about from that as well. Jody, thank you very much for sharing the video, and I really do appreciate it. As a matter of fact, I hope that you'll all like this posting because it allows me to share with you when I'm going to do other Facebook Lives. And sharing it just allows more people to benefit. And I want to remind you that I am doing these each week, 9 o'clock p.m. It's Ask Dr. Mache, and you can find my website at askdrmache.com, and there you will find the opportunity to post questions ahead of time and make sure that they get answered. In any event, we have a society where people are stressed. That contributes to weight. Number two is the fact that people are sleeping less. The fact that sleep is reduced increases hormones that contribute to our waistline, and that is a negative that is affecting everyone. The third is the fact that we have sedentary lives, and so the average person that today that sits about maybe 8 hours a day has about a 90% chance of increasing her waistline compared to women who sit only 2 hours a day. And when you take into account a lot of us have sedentary jobs, a lot of us commute long distances to work, a lot of us are watching television for an hour or two a day. We're sitting around and doing other activities that are sedentary. And so all of that is doing two things. Number one, it's increasing our not doing the kinds of activities that burn calories, but it's also at the same time contributing because we are inactive, completely inactive. So the menopause per se, in studies that have been done, is not in of itself a cause of increased weight gain. I know that's shocking to you, potentially, but it is not in of itself a cause of weight gain. But what it is a time when hormones decrease. And when estrogen goes down, that can cause a change in distribution of fat. So you get a lot of that jelly belly, and you get that midriff, and you get your pants too tight. You walk in the closet and everything seems to be one size too small. And those kinds of experiences are very, very common. Another thing is that around the time women are approaching menopause, and I want to remind you that menopause isn't something that happens necessarily when you're older. About 5 to 10% of women go into menopause before age 45. So we're talking about symptoms starting at 35 or in the late 30s or early 40s. And these are times when you have kids that you're trying to rush out the door to get to school on time. You're trying to get them to soccer practice on time. You've got all those things, plus your work, plus you've got all the other activities that you're involved in. And all of that together contributes to the eating in a hurry, which is not necessarily good. It's a lot to do with takeout foods, which have more salt, more fats, and are less healthy. A lot of more processed food because we eat on the run. We sometimes even eat in the car. I guess we don't even eat on the run. We eat on the drive. And there you are, just stressed out, running around, doing all that, and then trying to put something in that will satisfy your hunger at the time. And what it does is it contributes to increased weight because of the choices of food. Now, I want to tell you that I have a free gift for you. It's on my website, and I'll just put it right here so you can see it because it's kind of hard to say it out, but it's drmache.com. That's my website, /weight-control-landing. And if you go there, drmache.com, /weight-control-landing, I have a free download for you for some of the common ways that you can jumpstart weight loss at this important time. And I think that will be something that will be very useful for you. Now, when it comes to one of the culprits that happens around menopause is a very common thing is thyroid disease. I don't know if you personally have thyroid disease or know someone who has thyroid disease, but about 5% of women in this time of life have thyroid disease. And as a consequence, that slows down metabolism and causes a lot of increased weight gain. I have one patient who was hypothyroid. It's usually hypothyroid or low thyroid. She had Hashimoto's thyroiditis, which is an inflammatory problem where you impact the thyroid. It's a butterfly-shaped gland right on the neck here. And when that happened, she put on enormous weight. She gained about 80 pounds. And by just treating her thyroid with the proper medication, by giving her the medicine that then increased her metabolism, she lost about 70 of those pounds as a result of it. It's really quite remarkable. So you have to realize there are some very common medical conditions that do that. Also, other things that happen as a result of low estrogen. I mentioned that low estrogen can cause you to have issues that impact the distribution of your fat, and it causes more to migrate over to the belly. But also, low estrogen is also responsible for increasing the amount of fat that each fat cell can store. So people will store more fat. And it's really that fat in the belly that is most harmful because it has a lot of inflammatory things that it produces, a lot of hormones that it produces, and it's really toxic. And it's not just the fat that you see when you put your hands in your belly and jiggle it around. It's not only that fat, that's just some of the fat. That's the fat that you see. But there's other fat underneath the fascia, inside the abdomen, that wraps up your intestines and other organs. And that fat is the so-called visceral fat, or I call it vicious fat. And that fat is highly detrimental to you because it causes inflammation and other things. Interestingly, Another area that is impacted by the food choices that you make is, let's see. Karen, welcome. So how do we get rid of the fat? Okay, let's cut to the chase. We know we got this jelly belly. What can we do? Okay, well, I want to tell you that, first of all, getting rid of fat is, first of all, don't say you're in menopause and then there's just no hope for you. That's just not accurate. Our menopause prevents you from getting fat, from getting thinner. That isn't true. And I mean, you see these shows like, Biggest Losers and so forth. And it's kind of interesting. The people that are on the Biggest Losers, where they have coaches around the clock and they have all of this exercise and so forth, if they follow those now in studies for up to 8 years, and those people often put weight back on because they've lost it so fast. So the first thing is trying to come up with a steady as she goes kind of a weight loss program, and that is about 1 pound a week. That's ideal. How do you do it? Well, first of all, estrogen is going to help, because if you are taking estrogen, it's going to help distribute the fat better. It's going to make it easy for you to control appetite because of the way it works. It's going to help you sleep better, and better sleep also helps to lower the fat accumulation, because sleep helps to take care of hunger and produces hormones that cause you to know that you're full. And it also prevents the production of another hormone, ghrelin, G-H-R-E-L-I-N, that makes you feel hungry. The second is exercise. You've got to exercise every day. And the exercise is got to be, aerobic exercise, where you actually try to burn some calories, and that means about 30 minutes a day. But even if you don't do heavy duty stuff at the gym, if you just walk every day for about 30 minutes. Now, some of the things that affect you may be in your medicine cabinet. Karen, so where do we get estrogen? Well, estrogen, of course, is a prescription hormone that is prescribed by your doctor or healthcare provider. So you'd have to talk with your doctor about that. But also, Chitawala, I hope I've said your name correctly. Thank you for your question. What if you can't take estrogen? And that's very important too, because there are people who either can't or won't take estrogen. And if you can't, these other things will help you. The sleep, the lowering of stress, meditation, and those kinds of things that lower stress. The third thing has to do with the exercise, and that has to be done in a very ongoing way. And there are things also that may be in your medicine cabinet that are increasing your weight, and I think that's something you need to know about. For instance, a lot of people are taking antidepressants. Antidepressants are, for the most part, very well known for increasing fat, and some of those are the SSRIs like Celexa, or Prozac, or Lexapro, or Zoloft. Those medications you want to try to avoid. Some of the tricyclic antidepressants like dysparvamine and others, but the so-called tricyclics. And there are other ones that are known to do that, corticosteroids such as prednisone and cortisone and those kinds of medicines. And as a matter of fact, if you go to this page that I have for you, drmache.com/weight-control-landing, you'll get a list of some of the things that will help you jumpstart, including some of these medication. Can estrogen replace estrogen? Okay, so estrogen is an over-the-counter and product, and it can help with some of the symptoms, but no, it doesn't replace estrogen. It is it's an over-the-counter approach that can help with some of the symptoms, perhaps hot flashes or some of the other things, which can be very helpful, but your body will not perceive it as estrogen because it's accumulation of other things, and it isn't that. So it doesn't replace it as such, though it may be helpful for some women with the symptoms. Now, the other things, if you don't take estrogen, is the fact that, let's see, Karen Lyles, it says, just shared the video. Karen, thank you very much. I really appreciate you doing that so that we can try to help as many women as we can. And I really am here just for that purpose. I've said this in other Facebook Lives, but my whole goal of being here is the fact that I was at one point, when I started my career, one of the leading experts in infertility in the United States. I did one of the first in vitro fertilizations, but then about a number of years ago, when the so-called Women's Health Initiative came out trying to look at the safety of hormones, it came out, and then 7 months after that, my wife had surgery that threw her into early menopause. And when that happened, her doctors were reluctant to give her hormone therapy, and so I got very involved in menopause, and I switched really from the fertility side of things to the menopause side of things for just that purpose, because I'm very dedicated to making sure that other women are not in a situation where they're not getting information, because I think that this can make a very big difference for you. The kinds of things, though, that are helpful in terms of your nutrition is to, first of all, in terms of weight loss, is to make sure you're eating healthy, which means a largely vegetable diet with really cutting out the processed food, the sweetened drinks, and so forth. Whether you take hormones or you don't, this is going to be helpful, because what happens is the following. The bacteria in your intestines, it's hard to imagine this, but you have like 3 pounds of bacteria, these little microscopic hormones that have 10 times the amount of cells as you have in your entire body. And these bacteria are causing you to, or helping you to digest food, prevent inflammation, and they are causing you to feel full, and they are causing you to potentially feel hungry because they encourage certain hormone productions to be made. What happens is, and this is whether or not you take estrogen, estrogen helps to keep the proportion of so-called good bacteria in better control, but if you don't, the foods that you eat influence it, so that if you eat foods like junk food, if you eat processed food, if you eat lots of restaurant food, if you eat lots of salt, and you eat lots of sugar, you eat the kinds of prepared foods, it actually changes the balance of hormones in your intestine, and the consequence of that is to not digest food in the same way, because you get rid of a lot of the bacteria. The ones that need the stuff that you're not eating will die out. Instead of having all these thousands of varieties of bacteria, you get a narrower grouping of bacteria, and that leads to inability to process what you do eat in a way that benefits your body. Some of the things that also can be helpful in terms of supplements, you want to have a multivitamin every day, I think is helpful. I think taking omega-3 fatty acids is helpful in terms of weight control. I think that there is another fatty acid that's called GLA, which is a very common one. You can find it in health food stores. I don't sell these things. I'm not involved in any of it, but they help to control your weight, and limiting the amount of sugar is also very helpful. And all these things seem very like, oh, I know this, I know this, I know this, or I've heard this, or I'm telling you that the difference in lowering stress, the difference in exercise that's regular and habitual, the difference in sleeping a better night's sleep, and the difference in eating the right foods will make an enormous impact on your weight. Those supplements that I mentioned can be helpful. Avoiding things that are in your medicine cabinet and that I spoke about earlier. And again, if you go to drmache.com, weight control, weight control landing, you'll get there a download that'll have a number of these things on them so that you can have them accessible to you. Thought I saw another question there. But so these are some of the important things that you can do and that are very, I think, particularly important. Now the exercise, I mean, one of the things that I think that you can do in terms of the stresses in your life has to do with the mindfulness. And if you are feeling particularly stressed, having difficulty with that, there's a very nice app that's available that I recently found out about. It's called Headspace, and it's free. You can go there and get the app, and you can do short meditations that are just like 10 minutes a day. Even doing that can change and reframe your mind. That's a very simple thing to do. And controlling hot flashes, which is one of the big stressors. We've done one Facebook Live on hot flashes, and I'm planning to do more about that soon, because hot flashes are just so distressing, and they are also so disruptive. And they're the kind of things that just make women crazy. And I was talking to a woman just recently. She had her first hot flash, and she had heard about hot flashes, and all of a sudden she said, "What was that?" She didn't even know what was happening. And then she got so hot, and then she got an anxiety attack that went along with it, and all kinds of other things, totally disruptive. And then another one happened about the next day, and all of a sudden she became aware of how disruptive all this was, and it was stressing her out. And actually treating those symptoms helped to lower her stress, because A, she was stressed when they happened, B, she'd be at work, and then these things would happen in front of the people she worked with, and third of all, it was just disruptive as it could possibly be. So when you do eat out, in terms of trying to control, the Harvard School of Public Health has some suggestions for the best foods to eat in terms of controlling weight. When it comes to the types of restaurants, when you eat at American restaurants, what you can get there are grilled chicken or fish with coleslaw, which has 360 calories. Chinese food, steamed vegetables with brown rice, has 440 calories. Japanese food, chicken teriyaki without the rice, 275 calories. Mexican food, there's some chicken tacos on corn tortillas with green peppers, onions, and tomato salsa. This has about 435 calories. And even pizza, if you eat a veggie pizza slice, one slice is only 260 calories. So these are things that are actually the best if you are going to go out. Christine, how are you, and welcome. Can menopause cause urinary urgency with anxiety? Well, it certainly can. Urinary urgency is a very common symptom that happens in menopause, and anxiety often comes along with menopause. Particularly they're associated with hot flashes, as I mentioned about the woman who I spoke with just yesterday. And you are primed for that kind of a situation, so it's really problematic. The thing that's most important, if you walk away with nothing else, is this: Just because you're in menopause doesn't mean you're going to gain weight. But what it does mean is you're going to have to think more about what you do eat, how you behave in terms of your habits, in terms of your controlling your stress and your sleep. If you're going to go out to dinner and drink a half a glass of, a half a bottle of wine with your girlfriends, there's about 200 calories in every one of those glasses. That's calories. If you're going to have, a lot of snacks that have, even if they're healthy snacks, you can eat a lot of good health in terms of food will also cause you to gain weight. So if you're going to eat for a snack a handful of walnuts, that's one thing, like 10 walnuts or something like that, or 10 almonds, that's one thing. But if you're going to have a huge handful or a bag of chips or something that is just more and more calories, no matter if it's less fat chips, if it's healthy nuts, whatever it is, it's not going to be helpful for you in the long run. Hasana is asking, how should I ask my GYN for hormonal replacement therapy options? Well, I will tell you, I have this book. It's called The Estrogen Window, and the estrogen window is really, it's been a #1 bestseller, and this has a whole chapter in it about how to talk with your doctor. The most important thing you can do when you go in is to understand what your options are, because if you don't go in, it can be a problem. Because I will tell you that today there was an article in the New England Journal not that long ago that showed that since that Women's Health Initiative study came out, 80% fewer women take hormones today than they did in 2002 when that study came out. And as a result, the doctors are not getting the training. They have 80% less experience actually taking care of women or using hormones. So if you don't know what you're talking about when you get there, or have a clarity of an idea, you're going to be at the mercy of the time limits and so forth, and it becomes very problematic. Let's see. Kathy, need help with insomnia and hot flash, night sweats. Desperate. Okay. Well, let me just say that if you look, again, on my website, I have a free gift for you that talks about the hot flashes. This one's very simple. If you go to hotflashgift.com, hotflashgift.com, you will get a download of a number of things that can help you in terms of that. But when it comes to sleep, the main important things there, the simple things to do, it's called sleep hygiene. And sleep hygiene means going to bed at more or less the same time every night, room darkening shades, keep the room cooler, like around 68 degrees. Don't exercise before, like 2 hours before sleep, but exercise during the day. It helps with sleep. When you go and take a nice warm bath before you go to bed, avoid things that are stimulating and negative like the news. Think about positive things before you go to sleep, because these are things that you can focus on that are good, because your brain will process the last things that you hear before you go to bed. You want to be able to avoid the television and the screens that are flashing in your face before bedtime, and listen to peaceful music, and talk to friends that make you laugh, and do things that are enjoyable before you go to bed. Read a book that you enjoy. All of those kinds of things will be helpful. But go to hotflashgift.com, and that will give you some real pearls on that. And we'll do a Facebook Live on sleep soon. Let's see. Gisela, welcome here. Melatonin for sleep is awesome. Okay, well, you can try melatonin. And melatonin can be helpful, but I'm going to tell you now, it works for some people, it doesn't work for others, and you've got to make sure that the melatonin you get actually has the amount of melatonin you think you're getting, because they don't always have it. So be sure you're in control. No problem with sleep. Weight gain, a major problem. I understand that, and that's why I'm talking about it. And weight gain, the things that I want to tell you though is that by controlling the foods that you eat, avoiding the processed food, having regular exercise, lowering your stress and sleep, hormone therapy if you can, being aware of medications that can increase them. And some of them are in your medicine cabinet. And as I said, if you go to drmache.com, weight-control-landing, there's several medications there that will help you jumpstart your weight control, because those can be very helpful. So what I wanted to do is just begin to talk to you about this topic. This is a very important one because it affects people, and the weight control is, it's important for your health. If you have certain conditions together with your weight, like what's considered overweight in terms of this demographic, in terms of women in and around menopause, the thing you have to worry about is a condition called metabolic syndrome. And metabolic syndrome is when your waist, it's these 5 things or so. It's waist is greater than 35 inches. For men it's 40, but for women it's 35 inches. Your blood sugar is over 100. Fasting blood sugar is 100 or more. Your good cholesterol is low. It's less than 50. Your LDL, or lousy cholesterol, is higher. It's over 150. And your blood pressure is like 135 over 80. And that means if you're not taking blood pressure medications. If you're on a blood pressure medication, then that counts as one of the factors. So if you have 3 of those 5 things, you have metabolic syndrome. And this metabolic syndrome is important because it puts you at increased risk for heart disease, it puts you at increased risk for diabetes, high blood pressure, and a lot of other medical problems. And so the reason that the weight matters in terms of your health are the things I just mentioned. But in terms of how you feel about yourself, and feeling lower self-esteem, feeling fat, feeling like you don't look good anymore, feeling like you can't do things anymore, this is another whole side of it, which is a very demoralizing and depressing for women. And you do have more control over it. But also, if you have the ability to work with someone in a gym or as a trainer and can get this kind of ongoing help, that too will be helpful to you. Well, I don't know if you have other questions. If you do, please ask them now. But if not, we'll conclude this Facebook Live for this evening. And the most important thing, again, is I want to tell you is that even though you have gained weight, even though your clothes are tight, it doesn't have to stay that way. It's not simple. You see, it's not something you can just wish will go away. This is one of those parts of life that takes a lot of work. For me, as a child, just so you understand where I'm coming from, when I was 2.5 years old, I was standing outside and a reporter came up. I was standing in front of, at the time, there was a big Sears and Roebuck where I lived, and they took a picture of me and did some research, and my picture was on the front page of the newspaper in my town as Mighty Mite, the fattest kid in the county. I was at 2.5, the fattest kid in the whole frickin' county. And I can tell you that my weight now is ideal, my ideal body weight, and it has been that way since I was a young adult. But it didn't get there because it was either easy or, something that just happened. It changed because I got interested in sports and I worked at it. It changed because I started eating healthier. It changed in part, and this is, in part because I realized that all those goodies that my grandmother was giving me and so forth were things that weren't good for me, so I had to use restraint. And it got good because I started doing the things that I'm talking about right now. And so it doesn't happen overnight. Your goals are not to lose 30 pounds in the next week. Your goal is to try and lose a pound a week and try to keep it steady. If you lost 1 pound a week in the course of a year, that would be over 50 pounds. And that is totally sustainable. Your body will adjust to that, and your body will then try to preserve it and work with you. So I hope that you will try to use these kinds of things. If you can't take hormones, all of these things matter the same whether you take them or not. It's easier if you're on hormones, but if you aren't, these still work. It all has to do with taking care of the sum of you and not just some of you, because therein is how you have to go about this. And if you can work with a friend that you can go to the gym with, that you can do exercises with, that you can do other things with, the socialization of it is also a wonderful thing. Well, I want to wish you all a very happy evening, and I look forward to seeing you next week, 9 o'clock Eastern, Facebook Live. Please tell your friends about this. Please like the post so that I can do, because I will do Facebook Live sometimes for just like a new article comes out or some new study that will, I think, have an impact for you. And I want to give you all the information that you can possibly get so that when you go to talk with your healthcare providers, that you're in a position to really know how to go in and know what you're asking for. Because in the 8 minutes you get in the average doctor's visit, there's no time to talk about anything, and it's awful. So, and one last time I'll mention, if you go to drmache.com/weight-control-landing, you will get a download with how to jumpstart weight loss. Have a wonderful evening.